Hey class. So I'm going to record myself interacting with Bootstrap and the program as if I were learning it for the first time. So hopefully this will give you some insight into what I expect and what your experience might look like. It may not be exactly the same thing, but it's just my way of trying to give you guys the in-class experience that you would have gotten otherwise. If you hear any noises in the background, that's one of my dogs probably running around and chewing toys. So bear with me and let's take a look. So far all I have done is go to the website bootstrapworld.org. This is basically your home base. Um, and I do have a link in Blackboard that takes you a little more specifically to, sorry, I had to cough. Takes you a little more specifically to where we would want to go. Um, so if I go to courses, and then we are working on algebra. That is what chapter 8 would have been. Sorry, that's my dog right there. That's what chapter 8 would have been, but we are trying this out to see how it works and see how you guys can interact with the materials. So I guess their own link takes you to an older version. So you click to the most recent and you see this website that looks like this. It has all of the units that it will cover in this to be able to create our own video games. So we're going to go to Unit 1 first. And the creators of this program let us know a few things, and the two biggest things they wanted us to be aware of whenever we're starting out the course. Um, Let me backtrack very quickly. Super small digression. Um, this is a program that I attended a 3-day training with just other teachers and instructors from around Houston. And we just immersed ourselves in the program for the 3 days and came out with our video games. And it was us training to be able to teach our students. And it cost something like $200 to be able to attend. And so you guys are getting a, not, I'm not going to say free because it's part of your course tuition, but you're getting that experience just more spread out. So you are actually doing something that teachers do when they are completing professional development. So you're already kind of getting that experience of what it's like to be on the professional development side and imagining how you would teach these things. So anyway, so that was number one. Oh no, I'm sorry. So number one thing they wanted us to know is that everything they put together, they tried to make it as intuitive for teachers to use as possible. So let's say you leave this class, you graduate, and you end up teaching introductory algebra or even pre-algebra. This program is free. It works on any computer past like from Windows XP and up. I don't know if anybody even has any computers that run on XP anymore. If you do, that's awesome. Anyway, and they wrote lesson plans for everything. They have additional exercises for every unit. They have slides for every unit. And when you work, or sorry, not when you work, when you're looking at this stuff, it is just like you're looking at a PowerPoint of the materials for your students to interact individually, rather than you giving them all a lesson. This can be more at your own pace, and teachers walk around and try and give help. That's actually how I'm trying to do this with my in-class students right now. Is they work at their own pace, and I am like a tutor for this experience. Hopefully, we'll see how it works out, and I'll let you guys know as I continue making videos for this. The number two thing they wanted to talk about is something I will mention when I start making mistakes, which is important and fun. So this is what your lesson plans would look like. They have an agenda, they have your standards, they have your vocabulary, everything that you guys could want when you're creating a lesson plan. And the way that we are going to work on this, the way that I want you to actually try working with Bootstrap is to click the slides button. And they have a bunch of different individual slides to kind of break the information down into the most compartmentalized method possible. I'm not going to, as I interact with this, read every one of these little paragraphs. That'd be very boring for you if all I did was just read something that's already typed out. But I'm going to summarize, I'm going to skip things that you can do on your own, because even though you're seeing me do this video, you should do these things as well. So you got a little welcome here. They try and tell you what it means to work with a programming language. Don't know what just happened. I don't know how I lost my slides there. It must be because I'm using my pen tablet to write. Okay, so let's see. This dissecting a demo thing. You've probably heard the phrase backwards engineering before, and that's what we're about to do. You take a product and you break it down into the parts and analyze what's actually happening. And that's kind of what we do with word problems and what we have our students do. Let's see, where's the link? Okay, so it says open this link. And this is why I actually have my screen. This is giving me some trouble. Hang on. There you go. So that's why I had the screen half of it. So the first thing they want us to do is to run the code for Ninja Cat at this link. It says play the game. We're going to spend a minute or two exploring. You can move left, right, up, down. You want to try to catch the ruby, avoid the dog. All right. So I'm going to move left, right, up, down. Oh, there's the ruby. I got it. At the risk of boring you guys or making cheesy comments like, "Ooh, there's the ruby," I'm going to cut this off pretty quickly. And just note a few things happening here. I've got a cat, got a dog. Oh, I just died. I got a ruby. There were some clouds. There was a sunset in the background. Let's see, so that's what was happening there. Okay, so let me see. They said we want to figure it out how it works by understanding how each character works. Don't want an update right now. I'm busy. Let's see. So we have the ruby. Ooh, why is it yellow? So sorry. Give me a second. We have the ruby. Why is it super chatty? Let me pause the video and get this set up real quick. Give me a second. Oh no, it's not pausing. Okay. Okay, I'm not exactly sure why, but it looks like my computer is running this kind of strangely. I think it's because I'm doing a screen recorder, but the slide doesn't seem to want to work. Oh, wait, no. Ah, it's because I'm not using my arrows. How silly. So anyway, we want to break down all the pieces that we have. Now it says turn to page 2 in your workbook. So I'm going to click this and cover up the game that I had. My workbook. So if you do not have a workbook, if you don't end up getting a copy from me, that's totally fine. You have the PDF here, and it's just the same, honestly. You can print them out if you want, or you can just take notes in your own little notebook. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my own version. It's going to hopefully be enough for you guys. So thing in the game, we had the ruby, we had Ninja Cat. I'm gonna call him NC because I'm lazy and I don't want to write it all out. The dog, the clouds. There was a score at the top. There was the background. See, so they said fill out the first column. All right, that's done. Whoops, yeah. And let's click in here. Do we list all 4 moving characters? What else? Do we get the background, the score? We got all that. But now we want to talk about what's changing. So, what changes? Well, the ruby, see, does it get bigger? Does it change color? I don't remember anything that changes about the ruby except it was, so they wrote position for the clouds. I already have that. I don't need that. So I want to write position again for the ruby. The ninja cat, his position changes. He's not like changing in size or anything like that. The dog's position changes. Clouds have messed up. Let's see, the score, that changes the number. And then the background, the background didn't have anything changing. So I'm just gonna leave, I'm gonna say like not applicable, or you could have said nothing. Let's try that. Let's see, then it says more specifically the x coordinate of the cloud was changing because the cloud was moving in this direction. My line is crooked, but cloud is moving like this. Dog. The ruby, so this was x coordinate because it was moving left and right. The ruby was moving in this direction, so I'm going to put x coordinate again. The ninja cat was moving like this, like this, like this, and like this. So I'm not just going to put x coordinate, I'm going to put x and the y coordinate. My dog was only changing like this, so that's just the x coordinate. My score was changing the number. When I did this with my students today, I noticed some of them actually went back to Ninja Cat and they replayed the game a couple of times to try and figure out what was happening with the number. I'll let you guys do that. I'm going to write down, so the number, I'm going to write down something fake. So the number expanded by 7 and 3/4. So you would put whatever you notice is actually happening with the number, and I will give you the hint that something happens when the cat hits the dog, and something different happens when the cat hits the ruby. And then finally the background, since nothing happens, I'm going to put nothing again. Oh, you know what? I think I actually did too much. Uh-oh, yeah, it says fill in the second column. Whoops. Let's see. So yeah, we did too much, and we didn't look at we weren't supposed to do the third column, so we'll just skip that later. Now it wants us to look at the coordinate plane. Okay, let's see. Numbers and lines. For the video game, we place the number line, and they give us the left margin and the right margin. Let's see, we can take the image of the dog, measure the distance. I think you were already supposed to have a another page here. Let's see. What's the coordinates? What's the coordinates? And then they talk about adding in a second number line. This is all really valuable for you guys to look at, and I realize what I'm doing is actually like working it out for you, and some of this stuff you can replicate on your own, but some of it wouldn't be as useful if I started giving you all that information. So let's see. Let's come back to our workbook, and here's the next page that you would be considering. zoom out on here a little bit so that you can see the whole page. By the way, guys, I know I say a lot. Bear with me. Hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. Let's clear the screen. They want us to talk about the position changing. That, oh, darn it, I'm still on the wrong slide. This is actually the slide for column 3, I believe. Yeah, there's the slide for column 3. Then they tell us to turn to page 3, so I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit. Anyway, so for practice, label the coordinates at the midpoint of each side. Let's do that. So I'm going to find the midpoint of each side. And so you remember, this is something you want your students to be able to do. This is trying to help them learn how to do the algebra. And writing out the coordinate pairs, for some reason, can still be a very difficult thing. I was just having a student giving me the wrong numbers, a bunch of students actually, today in trig when we were talking about the unit circle and talking about the coordinate pairs there. So there's more involved, but still, coordinate planes shouldn't give anybody trouble, and the earlier you can give students practice with that, the better. So if I'm trying to get the coordinates for this point here, let's see. My x coordinate goes from 0 to 640, and I've gone about halfway. That was my determinant, it was the halfway point. So half of 640 would be 320. And then my y coordinate is, have I gone up or down at all? But I haven't, I'm still at the 0 line. Here, my x coordinate, I haven't gone left or right at all, so it would be 0 for this point. My y coordinate is halfway between 0 and 480, which would be 240. Alright, got my midpoints on. Let's see, then label the coordinates of each of the characters. Now this is something that I always get a little bit of a question about, because your coordinates, if I put my point here, my coordinates for Ninja Cat would be very different than if I put my point here. So I'm going to go with what seems logical to me, meaning I'm going to put, let's actually take away all of those so I can get this one done here. I'm going to put my coordinates in what I deem the center of each figure. If I put like a box around it, this point should generally be in the middle of it. I'm not perfect though, so not exactly sure that it's the center, but we're estimating. There's not even exact lines, so it's not like we can do anything but estimate. But if you wanted to do yours, maybe say from the leftmost point, the leftmost point, and the leftmost point, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you're orienting yourself and you're picking the points consistently. If you pick the tail for Ninja Cat, then you need to pick this edge of his mouth for the dog, and you need to pick the edge of the ruby for the ruby. Because if you don't, you're not having a consistent setup and it's not going to work out. I recommend picking the center simply because, well, no, it really does depend on how you want to do it. Okay, so Ninja Cat. Let's see, that looks like it's like a quarter of the way through, I guess. So let's see, what's halfway between these two? Um, I'm just gonna estimate. I'm not even gonna pick halfway. I'm gonna pick a number that looks like it might be right to me. Let's just say 180. So I went 180 this way, and then to go up here, let's see if that's 240 up there. Then let's say this is 100, 200, no, let's say 120. It's just my guess. Yours might be different. Let's see, for my dog, I'm over here. Let's see, we had 180, 320, and then let's say 450. Then that's for my x direction. For my y, I'm gonna pick 120 again because it looks to me like those points are at the same height. Looks like the dog is in general around the same height as the cat. And then you guys can do the ruby. Of course, I would like you to do this too, but that's your own choice. All right, so let's talk a little more here. Now, this next page that they're talking about with this brainstorming, this is on page 4. You got this template. This is for you to make a video game, and I want to give some information here. I know I'm talking a lot, and we still have a lot more to go through for Unit 1, but I don't really want to do all of Unit 1 with you. Um, I want you to explore some of it, and this is just to make you more comfortable. Anyway, you've got this video game design. You want a background, you want a player, you want a target that the player goes for, and you want a danger that the player goes for. At some point in these videos, I will show you my game that I made. But they did talk to us in the training quite a bit about their first time teaching this course. It used to be an after school program like once or twice a week, and it was like a grant that they were getting for it. And one week, their students just were not responsive at all. They didn't seem interested, and they just weren't that willing to play or do the programming. And it turns out that one of their classmates had actually been shot and died over between the last time they had seen them and that lesson. And the students said, we just don't want to play this game. And that's because their game was actually like it didn't just have these elements, it also had an element of like you can shoot something. It was like a shooting game where you shoot, I don't know, let's say you're a farmer and you're shooting apples at a pig. I don't know, I'm just making that up. But theirs were more like you're a ranger in space, and so you're shooting at the aliens. And it was just so closely tied to what the students were experiencing that they actually said, okay, we need to take this out of the game. And so they took that shooting aspect away and made the game more open for everyone. And another thing that they noticed was that the little girls in the class were actually more open to the game once they took the shooting out because they felt like it was more, I mean, this is a complicated topic, but they also felt like it was more geared toward their let's see how much time I've been talking a lot. It was more geared toward their male classmates, and they just weren't feeling as welcome. And once they took the shooting aspect out of it, then suddenly the creativity just really skyrocketed. So when you pick your choices, I challenge you to pick something that you think more people would be able to enjoy. Not just you, but a variety of people from different backgrounds. So if you picked well, I'll show you my game later, but my game, I ended up making my player a shark. My target was a scuba diver. They were going to eat them. And the danger was a submarine. So it was something that was as open as I could think of, just put on the spot the way that we were. But you could choose from anything. I think I have a dog behind me snoring. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so they have these suggestions here. That does not mean that this is what you have to do. So put some thought into what you actually want your game to have. I think it'd be valuable for you and hopefully make it more enjoyable. So there's some information about filling that out. Then they go through a really great explanation of order of operations. I'm trying to cut this off because I realize how long this video is. They have a lot of step-by-step work to help you. And then they start talking about these things here, this circle of evaluation. Now, I'm not totally familiar with other coding languages, but they did say that this is actually a common thing to do when you're talking about operations. And it's a chart that takes these operations that you guys are used to doing that kind of can get confusing if you're not familiar with the proper order, and puts it into a visual that organizes. It's a graphic organizer, actually. So they show you how to make a circle of evaluation for a variety of different functions, and then they have you practice it. Then, let's see, they want you to finish some. So they have a bunch of different ways that you can work with the circles. And I was actually surprised by how well my students caught on to this so quickly. I didn't actually teach any of them what the circles were like. They put it together. So I want you guys to make sure that you put some real thought into what these explanations are saying. And then this is where I had students actually asking me for help. Not that they didn't want me to, or that they couldn't do it, but they wanted me to check it for them. So if you do feel like I need to know that which ones are correct, that's fine. Send me an email with a screenshot of your answers with this, and I'll let you know. Um, they also, a lot of them also asked me something like, so now that I've done this, what do I do? Do I find the answer? And the answer is actually the circle. So this takes away the idea that every equation is a specific process, is a specific number. And because it's actually a balance, it's actually a sentence that's happening. And these circles try and show you you're not looking for an answer at the end, you're looking at a process, at a set of ideas that are put together. And then this is where you guys are actually getting into the programming part of it. So it says click here to log in. So you click it and you go to log in. I'm going to pause so I can log in right now. You're just going to use whatever Google email account you have, and if you don't have one, you can just make one for free. So give me just a second. Okay, so logged in. Now, when you log in, you're going to see something very different. You're not going to see any of these things. By the time you get through Unit 9, you will have all of this, although yours will be different. And then it says to click Start a New Program. That's this one right here. So when I do this, I have these two sections, and it says definitions and interactions. This is where you're actually going to do this is how you do your programming. Now, interactions is where you do smaller calculations, basically. Whereas definitions is where the true coding happens. We're not there yet, so I'm just going to kind of push this one to the side for now. Just midway through this video, I will show you guys my video game very quickly. I don't remember all the codes that I have here, but here's my shark. I thought he looked like Bruce from Finding Nemo. Oh, I want to get that guy. Now my shark can move left and right and up and down. If you don't do some of the extra coding, your shark won't do that. It was like an extra challenge that myself and my partner at the training did. So don't expect that you'll be able to do that otherwise. That's just mine. And let's see. So I can do, the thing that took the most work for me was I can hide my shark. And I can bring him back with the same button press. I can take him to the top of the screen or to the bottom of the screen. I can take him to the left side or to the right side of the screen. He's kind of hanging off, but these were all cheat codes that I did. And then let's see, here's my, so if I use the arrows up and down, he moves kind of slowly. So this is how he moves down with the arrow, and I can do a warp. I don't remember what the warp is to go up. I don't remember the code, or the buttons, but this is what my game looks like. So this is something like your game could be. And notice also my scuba diver comes in from the left, and my submarine comes in from the right. That's something else special that I did. So just something to think about, something to not aspire to, but an example. There we go. Okay, so now that I click Start a New Program, they tell you exactly what I just told you about definitions and interactions. Oh no, it's not looking up. Okay. They tell you some stuff about programming, and then they want you to start interacting with the program. So what do you think 4 will evaluate to? So evaluating means you're doing an operation and it gives you a new value. But there's no operation happening on 4 except just that it's 4. So it says hit return. That means the enter button on your keyboard. And it returns 4. Let's see. Type 10 and hit return. You get 10. Let's see. 10, 0, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 7. So type that in. Or negative numbers. Is there a limit to how much it can be? What happens if you get a decimal? So if I put decimal here, it says what happens when you click on it. So I tried clicking on the number that I typed in and nothing happened. But something special happens when I click on it here. And in fact, what's happening, it's called toggling. It toggles back and forth between two things. So just something to think about. You can put in a lot of different choices here to explore what's going on. So let's see if I type in some letters. Ah, that's a little different. So code rule number 1, all values are legal expressions. That's something to pay attention to. Let's see. So it does, so this, I jumped the gun again. Um, let's see, so it said try asking the computer to evaluate dog. Okay, why did it have a link for that? Oh, so they're just giving you an example. So they've already thought out what you want to type in. Anyway, okay. Now, notice they say this, the error messages are really useful. And this is a very valuable way to think about this. I told you guys earlier they had two things they wanted us to know. Number 1, that they made all the lesson plans for you and put all the resources together for you. Number 2, they wanted you to know that their error messages are the most important thing to them. And they said that that is how you will learn these programs. Anyone can type in a bunch of numbers, and when it spits back the same exact number, it hasn't taught you anything. But when it spits back an error message, you have to see what went wrong and adjust to go forward, or adjust to get something that doesn't go wrong. And so they said, I don't remember if it was 2 times or 3 times as much, but they said that they coded either 2 or 3 times as much error message coding. So someone types something in, they have a ton of stuff in there to give you explanations for why something went wrong. They actually have less for the programming itself. More of it is to teach you from your mistakes. So this one tells me, let's see, I just typed in, across the keyboard, just a random set of keys. So this variable is not defined. And then it tells me at line 1, column 0. And so if I click that, then it shows me this spot here. Hey, pay attention. That's what it's saying. Okay. So if it says it's not defined, then maybe that means that these numbers are variables to the program and the numbers are defined. I don't know. You have to do a little research here. And then they start doing this very important thing here with this coding for the circles. I'm surprised they don't say what it's called. Let's see. So this coding, oh, we're near the end. Let's see. I'm not sure why it doesn't say it, but this is called racket code. Okay? So once you've gotten comfortable with the circles of evaluation, you actually can put this into the program using the circle. So imagine that there's a full circle around here. And now instead of putting the operation up at the top, you put it on the side. So if I wanted to do the operation of 4 minus 5, I would put minus 4. Oh, I skipped the 4 for some reason. Notice that they have spaces there. You want to put the spaces in. I don't know if the space matters in the beginning. I don't remember. No, it doesn't. So it's parentheses, I don't think you need a space for that part, so minus space 4 space 5, and it gives you the same answer. And notice, I wasn't sure how how the spaces worked, so I tried it. And I could have done minus 4 5 and hit enter, and it tells me that doesn't work. So then I would adjust. That's what you should be doing. Anyway, so they give you a little bit about the coding here. I'm so surprised it doesn't have more. Let me see, where is the workbook? Give me a second. I'm not seeing it. So maybe the workbook is where it talks about racket code a little bit more. I think it is. So definitely make sure that after you've gone through these slides and you've looked at, oh, here it is, good. And you've looked at what they're saying on here, that you correspond with, wait, that's unit 2. You correspond with what you see down here. So they've got the, yeah. So they've got operations. They want you to make the circles for those operations. And then they want you to write it in racket code. And a really great thing you can do is use the computer program to test out your racket code. You guys can figure out what these numbers are. Once you look at the tutorial, will see what the circle of evaluation should say, or should look like. And then you create racket code from the circle. And the really beautiful thing would be you type in the code, you get an answer. Just like I typed in this code and I got an answer. I got an evaluation. And I come back and I can check it based on what's here. It's immediate feedback. That's something that you will learn to value as teachers. Anyway, so there's a little more information here about how to write out racket code. There's some example practice, and that would be Unit 1 complete. Now, this took me 40 minutes to explain fully, or not explain fully, but to really talk through what you'd work on. I am going to try to make a video for each unit. It's going to be similar, honestly. But hopefully it'll be something you guys can refer to. You can skip around, and as you work on it, you can hopefully get more comfortable. So today, when I did this in class, the students, before we started working on the program, I asked if anybody was scared. And I think 5 or 6 hands came up. And then, but I know that more of them were scared and didn't want to admit it. Out of a class of 15. And then after they had spent the class period working through these slides and with their workbooks, I asked who is now more comfortable with this program. So I didn't ask, is anyone still scared? Because that would be the negative framing of the question. And when I asked that, I got something like 9 or 10 hands that went up visibly. So I recommend that you give this a full try, and that at any point, if you feel lost, you just give it another try. You just put something down and you test it out. If you feel like you haven't gotten enough practice in this materials, then you go back to Unit 1, and down at the very bottom of the page, there's tons of practice. Now, there are not answer keys here because students can access this, so they didn't want to put the answers out. But you do the practice and you send it to me, and I'll let you know if it's correct. I will check it for you. That's what I'm here for. Your workbooks. This is a companion to these slides, so don't skip them. You can look at the teacher notes, you can look at what the discussion group has said. I haven't clicked this yet, but the slides is really what's going to benefit you as you start off. So Unit 1 and Unit 2 should be completed by Monday. That's when my in-class students are going to work on Unit 3. And over Monday through Wednesday, they'll do Unit 4 on their own. Wednesday, we'll do Unit 5 and 6, or Unit 5, and they'll do 6 over the weekend. So just so you guys know. And so let me actually type that out so you can screenshot it if you want. Let me see. My Word is taking forever to start up. Let's see. So today is Wednesday, and it's Unit 1. The weekend after this, you'd work on Unit 2. And so for you guys, since you're getting this at 11:30 at night, both will be over the weekend. Monday, my students will come in and we'll talk, or at least begin Unit 3. So Monday through Wednesday, they are working on their own Unit 4. And I told them, and I'm telling you guys now, on your own doesn't automatically mean that I won't help you. It's just that I want you to at least give it a try first. Who knows? Maybe you'll run through it and not need any help from me at all. Maybe I'll have to take an extra day, for something like that. We can adjust the calendar because this is important for us to give it a real try. And then Wednesday, this should say Tuesday. So on Wednesday, we'll do Unit 5. And then over the weekend, on your own, you'll do Unit 6. And so on and so forth. So I'll finish typing this out, and that will be the close of the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be periodically, not every, 8 hours or anything, so don't expect an answer immediately, but periodically throughout the weekend, I will be checking my email to see if anyone has any questions about any of this stuff. And I look forward to hearing your responses and hearing how this works out for you. So I'm just going to pause it. I'll unpause it for a few seconds for you to see the rest of the schedule, because there's only a few more units after that. And I wish you the best. Sorry, my mic was off. Okay, so here is the schedule. Take a picture of it, write it down for your own personal schedules. See ya.